tell the wife I took 50 out of the checking. That was a small on myself, but she was very happy about the win. Um, and
I
then
bet she was. I mean, they can girl math it, right? Yes, I took the 50, but babe, guess what? I won 2,500. So don't worry about the 50. Let's focus on what we want.
Casino trip, full of chips. Wanna flip, double it.
welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you'll never lose, where the stakes are high, the takes are bold, and the conversations are always full of chips. With your hosts, Chris, the Dice Degen, and Craig from Old Bay Craps. You're tuned in to Full of Chips, the podcast where we dive into our own experiences into the world of gambling and share stories straight from the casino floor. Whether you're a recreational gambler, a seasoned pro, or just curious what the buzz is all about, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the games, talk to the experts, and bring you tips that could tilt the odds in your favor. So grab your lucky charm, stack your chips, and let's roll into today's episode.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, episode 1. We are so excited to be kicking this off, and we're really looking forward to going on this adventure with you guys. So I'm one of your hosts, Chris, the Dice Degen, and joining me today is Craig, my co-host from Old Bay Craps. Craig, how we doing today?
I'm doing great, Chris. This is the long time coming. We have been wanting to do this for a while now. It was your baby, and we're here. We're ready. We're ready to talk to the masses about casino gaming and other things of interest. And I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy we got this thing going. Like you said, it's been a long time making. I feel like, we've been talking about this for weeks, months at this point, and finally
Definitely.
get it off the ground. So, they say you can't start unless you actually start, right? So we're
That's
starting, and we're here with episode 1. And later in the episode, we'll take you over the direction and stuff. But we figure for episode 1, we know some folks know us, but many folks may not know us. So why don't we give a little introduction into ourselves? I mean, after all, talking about myself is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So, Craig,
That's
tell us a
true.
little bit about where you're from and how you very first started gambling.
So I'm a Marylander. I'm an East Coaster. I've always been an East Coaster. I don't have a very extensive background in casino gambling. I've only dabbled in it in the late 90s, early 2000s with roulette. I actually played a little bit of roulette in Atlantic City for a very small bankroll during a bachelor party, and that went very quick. And then a few years later, right before my son was born, I decided to take $50, found out that you could do online gambling at the time in Maryland. It's illegal now in Maryland, but I played roulette online, played a 17-20 and everything around it. And lo and behold, 20 hit, won $2,500, was very happy. Then I had to tell the wife I took 50 out of the checking. That was a small on myself, but she was very happy about the win. Um, and
I
then
bet she was. I mean, they can girl math it, right? Yes, I took the 50, but babe, guess what? I won 2,500. So don't worry about the 50. Let's focus on what we want.
that's right. That's exactly how I approached it, Chris. Uh, and then beyond that, Chris, I didn't do any gaming for 20 years. It wasn't until 2022 when my son, after he graduated high school, became a professional dancer, got an audition, got a show at the Mirage, the Beatles Love Show. We went there to see him in February of 2022. And again, I wanted to play roulette, $100, right down the drain, 10 minutes, was walking back to the elevator, looked over, saw the craps table, was a little hesitant. Like that layout still confuses me. I don't know what to do. So I went back up to the room, looked up a couple YouTube videos, came across Bone Thrower. He was using a 3V set at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go down with $200 with a 3V set from the end of the table. And I'm going to stick close to the dealer because the dealer always tells you what to do, right? When you're a new player.
Oh, they
Uh,
always tell you the best bet.
so I didn't know enough to know what the hell a 3V set was. I just made sure that threes were on top of the dice before I threw them. And $200, I lost 180 of it. Did not care. I played for over 2.5 hours on just a $200 buy-in. Um, so
Solid.
I was hooked, man. I was hooked. I went back up to my wife, said, she goes, "Whoa, you're excited. What'd you win?" I said, "Nothing. I lost 180. But I found this cool game, craps. I'm gonna look up everything I can about it while we're here." Went went the next morning with $500. I won 500, doubled the bankroll. Following day, played again, won $620, and then paid for tattoos for my wife, myself, and my son while we were in Vegas at Club
Nice.
Tattoo at the Venetian.
There you go. There you go. You got addicted to craps in Vegas. That's awesome. You know what's funny though? I feel like I don't know. I guess for me and you, we have a similar story. Baptism by fire into the casino with roulette, right? Same way for me. So I actually started sports betting, but my first game playing in the casino was roulette. For those of you who don't know me, I've been an avid sports fan since I was super young. I'm a Philly boy, born and raised. Yes, I'm a Philly sports fan for everything. So if that's a problem for you, I don't know. Go tell somebody else. I don't give a shit. Anyway, big sports fan, so that drew me into sports betting. So I started sports betting in college. Um, for anybody who is watching who wants to go back and tell me I was too young, mom's the word. But yeah, we were doing some sports betting in college. All my friends were big into it also. So that's how I got into gambling, was with sports betting, specifically on soccer. Been a big soccer fan for a lot of years, and that's where I found that I could actually do well at sports betting, was betting soccer. Then started dabbling into other sports, but mainly focused on soccer at the time. But first time ever gambling for me was actually in Las Vegas. Me and my college buddies take a boys trip every single year, and we figured when we turned 21, why not all go to the casino? That'd be fun. And then we were like, wait. We can't do this small. One thing you'll learn about me and my friends as we go through this podcast, because there'll be many stories with them, how they may even come on the podcast. Nothing we do is ever small. So we went to Vegas because why not? Atlantic City's only an hour and a half away from us. No. We're gonna hop on a flight 5 hours and go to Vegas. So we did.
You
And
had to take the
we
flight.
have this, yeah, exactly, right? Take the flight. Let's go to Vegas and let's really do this. So we have a thing when we walk into a casino, we started this where everyone's gonna put $100 on black no matter what, as soon as before we even check in. Like literally carry on bags, luggage and all to the roulette table, $100 on black. That's gonna set the tone for our trip.
You were
So we
committed.
did that. Percent. I mean, at the time, $100, I was like, ooh, okay. Let's hesitant, put it down. Now, whatever. As the times have changed, which we will certainly talk about here. But so yeah, we put $100 on black, black hit, right? Great. We all cash out our 100, go check in, and we have some time to kill before dinner. So we're like, all right, let's go down. And one of my buddies says, my dad's always talking about this crap game. Let's go play craps. And I'm like, whatever, sure. Go down to the table. I'm like, all right, I want $100 by luck, basically, on the roulette table. By walking in, I'm going to put $100 on the craps table. Let's see what happens. So luckily, we picked the time and the right place to go play craps. It was the Mandalay Bay. There was a gentleman there and his wife who we kind of just started following, right? We asked the dealers what to play as their pass line max odds. I'm like, well, I got $100. I can't do a pass line with max odds. Like a $10 pass line, I'm going to be maxed out pretty quick. And this guy goes, you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want to do that. You want to play the 6 and the 8. I'm just like, all right, what the heck? So I'm, 6 and 8. And the dealer's like, I need you to drop me $4. I'm like, for what? Well, $12, 6 and 8. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Let's do that. So $12, 6 and 8. This guy's shooting. He starts banging sixes and eights, right? And I'm like, oh, just keep collecting, right? Didn't know what pressing was. Keep collect. I like the money coming to me. Then this guy starts pressing, and he goes, you should press your bets up. What the hell? This guy hasn't told me something wrong yet, so I might as well keep pressing my bets. So I press a little bit, collect some more, press a little bit more. Hour later, this guy finishes his roll, right? Mind you, bought him $100. Then his wife goes on a decent little roll. So we were at the craps table for like an hour and a half. I turned the 100 into 1,000, a little over 1,000. Gave the dealer some. I gave the guy and his wife a couple bucks. Started tipping from a young age too. That's one etiquette thing. We're gonna get into many etiquette discussions because I know you and I both have a lot of etiquette things to talk about.
It sounds like a top. It sounds like a future top five.
Oh, future top five for sure. And don't worry, guys. We have a top 5 list for you coming, and today's you don't want to miss. Let me tell you, you don't want to miss today's top 5 list. It's a great one. It's coming. But went back to the room and I did exactly what you did, right? So I got into this game, and how do I learn how to play this game? Well, me being me, I go to my phone and I'm like, all right, YouTube, here we go. Let me look up how to play craps on YouTube. So I'm watching some videos, a few different people who at the time I was like, wow, these guys are geniuses. Now I call them friends, believe it or not. So that's super cool. But learned how to play craps, and then that's all I did all weekend. Never touched the roulette table again. Just went to the craps table. I was addicted. I was like, I got to
Really?
keep playing, got to keep playing. And I guess we have evolved. So we both started playing craps in Vegas, which is kind of unique. I actually didn't know that about you, believe it or not.
Yeah, yeah. No, I had no intention of playing craps when we first got there. It wasn't until I walked past the table and I was like, I've been avoiding this for so long because it just looked too complicated. And I guess a lot of
Hmm.
people who play craps, who start to play craps or even learn about the game, find that it's very hard to look at. My wife still won't look at the table. She says it gives her a headache.
Yeah,
But you have to break it
it's
down.
definitely intimidating.
Oh yeah. And when I played at the Mirage, and when I said the dealer helped me out, actually he was a very nice dealer. He just mainly said 6 and 8. He said, "Why don't you just play 6 and 8?" And so that's all I did. It just kept pressing and regressing. He was telling me about the come out roll and all that stuff, and it caught the bug because. And the other thing is, when you win, what do? And I'm sure you can attest to this because you're Philly. You get cocky. You're like, well, I can win anytime I play this game, honey. We need a new washer, dryer. Let me just go to the casino first, throw down 400 buy-in, get your dishwasher, your dryer, and we'll be good. Yeah, the next time I went to the casino, I lost $500 in 45 minutes
Yep.
thinking
The
that I could
the
play the game,
gambling
you know?
reality gets you.
Oh yeah, reality gets you. It really it bites you in the ass.
That's for sure. It
So
definitely does. But
how did you think about, or what did you think about when you came home? Was that the time that you thought about a channel and getting into the YouTube world?
no, it actually wasn't. So I like the game of craps. In so when I was 21, that was 2018, 2017, 2008, 2017, 2018. It's 2018, right? That 2000, we'll call it 2018. That's when I turned 21. Um, So I was still very new. Liked craps. I started looking at other games. Blackjack always interested me. Roulette was always interesting to me. Now, if you ask me if I want to play roulette, I will say hell no, and I will never touch a roulette wheel ever again. I
I
don't
think I'm
like
with
roulette
you.
at all. Yeah, but I got into blackjack too very early. So I was blackjack and craps, more so blackjack than I was craps. But then
Why is that?
I'm so I don't want to say I'm a math guy because I don't want people to get the wrong connotation of me. I
Okay,
do not
everybody,
play
hold
like a
on.
math.
Chris is not a mathlete. Okay, we will get into that as an identifier later in the episodes.
Oh yes, yes. Chris is not a mathlete, even though I was on the mathlete squad in like elementary school. But don't hold
Of
that
course
against
you
me.
were.
But no. So blackjack with and the math always interested me from that perspective. So I liked that game. I played that game a lot. I played craps every once in a while, but I found myself going to the blackjack table more than I did the craps table. But getting into like a YouTube channel was actually because of COVID. So obviously not the greatest thing, but for me, it was a good time because I did get into craps. And the reason I got into craps during COVID a lot was one, casinos were closed, and two, I had just told my dad about craps, and he was
Mhm.
super interested in the game. But when COVID happened, casinos shut down. So what did I do? Me being me, I built a table in my basement. So I had a little tabletop table that I built, the walls, the rails, everything, ordered it all online so I could explain to my dad, but then also like we could play without actually going to the casino. And as I was doing that, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, kind of have a knack for this. Maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. And the reason I started it was because I figured, all right, I'm like 22, 23 at the time. A lot of the YouTubers at the time were considerably older, right? And you having a son who is close to,
Can you define older?
I plead the fifth on that one. My legal counsel told me not to. Older than me,
Okay.
but as you know that, right? You have a son who is a little bit younger than I am, and we don't listen the best. right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not very good listeners, especially to people who are older than us. We think we know better. So I figured if I make a channel, maybe people like me will listen to me instead of listening to those who are older. So that was the evolution of the Dice Degen channel. And for anyone who is interested, both Craig's channel and my channel will be linked down in the description, along with all the information where you can find our podcast. Um, we're on all the major platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. And then we also have social media accounts on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. All that information is linked down below, along with both of our crafts channels. So go take a look. And Craig, perfect segue into how did you get started into your crafts channel?
Well, I do have an additional question for you because you're in a unique situation. You actually started gambling before COVID. How did COVID affect the itch to gamble, and maybe a place wasn't open because of COVID?
You're going to make me go down a rabbit hole, aren't you?
Just a
So,
small one.
yeah, just a small one. This is going to turn into people are going to be like, well, now I see where the degen part of his name comes from. So obviously, casinos were closed, right? I've always been a big sports bettor, right? So going back to college, big sports betting, whatever. So casinos were closed, and a lot of professional sports also stopped for a little bit, right? You know what
Yep.
didn't stop?
Gambling.
Darts. Like ping pong. So I'm sitting like a total degenerate in my parents' basement at the time, betting on darts and ping pong and finding streams from like these basement halls where they're playing this shit. And I'm betting on darts and ping pong during COVID
Wow. Wow.
because I couldn't go to a
Darts and
casino.
I'm surprised that, I think jarts were illegal by then. So you couldn't bet on jarts outside with a mask. Somebody
Yeah,
would get
right.
hurt. Darts and ping pong. That is amazing. And were you profitable?
Actually, yes. So the funny part is, I grew up playing ping pong, believe it or not. My parents had a ping pong table in their basement. So I was like super into it. So I was like watching guys. And what's really cool, if anyone hasn't followed ping pong at all, this is very tangential, but it's okay. If anyone hasn't followed ping pong, when they play these tournaments and these matches and stuff, it's not like, you play one per day. You play like one match per every few hours, right? So like if I'm playing in a ping pong tournament, I might play at like, let's say 11 o'clock, I might play at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever. So I will find these guys who are good and I'll just keep betting on them. And once they were playing against somebody who was also good, I'd bet like the over in sets and other things like that. But I was just watching a lot of ping pong. And that's what I was betting on. And then darts, I found darts. I was like, ooh, darts are cool. I did dabble in snooker a little bit. I still don't understand what the hell snooker is,
I've never
but
even heard of that.
I thought it was fun. Yeah, like it's a variation of billiards, I think. I don't know, but this is how much again, degenerate. This is how much I wanted to bet that I was betting on something I had not a friggin' clue what was going on. We both highly advise against that. But
If you say so, I will go with that. I will go with you on that.
yeah. But yeah, that's what I did during COVID because casinos were closed. So there was me in the basement betting on ping pong, darts because they never really shut down. And then once the professional sports got back into it, then I started betting on those, and then the casinos opened up and stuff a little bit later. So did that. But yeah,
You
COVID
started
was
you started your channel 1 year after COVID.
yes. Yep, 1 year after COVID.
Okay.
When did you
And what
start
was
yours?
the scene? We all know what the scene is right now with just a plethora of channels. So at the time that you started your channel, which was a year after COVID, what was the atmosphere like on who you were watching, or how many channels did you watch at that time, or were prevalent? And was anybody doing lives then?
That's a great question, actually. So there wasn't any lives really, maybe a handful here and there. But I was watching a lot of Color Up, so Jeremy, a lot of Rick from Let It Roll. I was watching Jeff, Mid Atlantic Craps, watching John from Pro Craps, Ed, Roll to Win, and yeah, lucky again to call all those guys friends now. But yeah, I was watching a lot of their videos, and there wasn't a huge presence in the craps world at the time. There was obviously a handful of channels, but nothing, really, really like there wasn't a huge huge grasp on the craps community. And I also watched Dave from Same Bet for quite a while, because he had interviews and stuff that I thought were cool that then brought me into other channels because he had, different people on. But I would say it was relatively small. It's still a very small group, as you know, right? But obviously the amount of channels has certainly blown up throughout, since I started. And there's definitely a lot of craps channels now, but at the time there was, a handful, but not obviously as prevalent as they are now.
So that gave you a chance to watch everybody's video on a particular channel.
Yeah, yeah. Now I have to like pick and choose, and like I have 5 minutes. Oh, this person just posted a video. Let me go watch that one real quick. Or like I have them playing in the background and stuff. Because I do like to watch a lot of the videos. Obviously, you post stuff, I post stuff. So if I'm not working on a video or working on something, I probably have some craps video playing in the background. Even when I'm working and stuff, there's craps on in the background. The screen that I'm looking at now is usually a casino table of some sort.
Right. So you started your channel in 2021. When I got back from Vegas in February 2022, it was 5 months later in July that I started my channel, Old Bay Craps. And, I think before I started the channel, I had probably talked a little bit to you because I knew of you then. I knew of Chris, Sideshow Gamble, Jeff Mid Atlantic Craps, John Pro Craps, some of the same people you listed. And just from talking to them, most of them were saying, well, you got to have a niche. So I was like, okay, well, what can I offer that I have not seen on YouTube yet in regards to craps? And I was like, well, do what you love. Well, I love movies. So I started doing movie strategies on craps. And you might say, well, what the hell, or how the hell can you do a movie strategy of some sort? Well, what I did was I wasn't telling stories with, how the movie goes. I was taking the characters from the movies and equating them to either dice combinations or box numbers or a strategy you might see. So if you were looking for a strategy where you lay the 4 and 10 and you use the don't pass, well, I did Godfather, which I think was one of my first movie strategies. So the Godfather was the Don, the don't, and his right and left hands were Clemenza and Tessio, which were the lays on the 4 and 10. And then I went from there, went into the other characters of, throughout the movie. So I did that a bunch of series on movies. You can all catch that on the channel. And then there was one movie that I actually told a story with betting. So the bet progressions, I was actually explaining the story of the movie as I went, which was the only one that I did that to, and that was Wall Street. Because Wall Street, it's about greed. What's better than greed? Nothing, right? Greed
Yeah,
is
you know
good.
that.
So, there goes that one was a pretty good strategy. That was one of my favorites besides the Godfather one. But then, like everybody, you start your channel, and what do? You learn the game, so you think you need to teach others how to play the game. So a bunch of us have learning series. A lot of them look the same. I think we all tried to think we were doing something original, but really, in essence, the game is so old that nothing we're doing is original. And I think, some people who either have been playing the game for years, but maybe not have been in the YouTube world for years, they don't know. Or they don't realize that you've seen all this stuff before. We're not showing you anything that's original. It has to be very, very specific for it to be original. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I got to circle back to your movie thing real quick because so if anyone ever needs a question answered on a movie, like if I'm ever on like a show, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something, and I have a movie question and I need to phone a friend, there is one person and one person only that I'm calling, and it's Craig. No, I'm not calling anybody else. But
I appreciate that.
that the movie concept was super creative. Like, and even with your Godfather example, right? I've seen The Godfather, I don't know how many times, right? Italian background, I've seen The Godfather, a million times. But
Right.
like watching the strategy and then like how you related to the movie was insane. I was like, oh my, like wow, holy creative here. Like it was ridiculous. I'm like, damn. That's genius, actually. So, like, you know, when you're talking about finding your niche and stuff, like that niche was so you because you are so movie heavy and you have so much knowledge of movies. Like me, you could name a movie to me and I'd be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But that's just me. But like you with movies, mind blowing.
But it's limited, right? Because
Yeah.
of course there's maybe it'd be an unlimited number of movies, but I can't think of anything more to bet. I'm going to eventually get to a movie where I'm doing the same bets I was doing in another movie strategy,
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I think, you can attest to this because I don't know how many videos total you've done. I've done over 500 videos. And I can tell you that at some point you do get stuck with creativity where you
Hmm.
might be. I was like down here in the Old Bay Craps dungeon and I'm like looking at my table for 45 minutes straight and I can't think of a goddamn thing to do. I'm like, how am I supposed to put out a video if I'm like used to putting out a video once a week, twice a week? I've got no material. It's almost like you hit writer's block, but it's not really writer's block. I think it's just fatigue. YouTube fatigue. It happens. You're going to get it from time to time. And right now, I would say I'm kind of in my transition because I stopped making videos at the end of last year. I did a couple of lives up through April. And then I was like, I'm also not a really seasoned player yet. I'm still making those dumb mistakes. So if you're thinking of like John Patrick and all that stuff, you're thinking of the bankroll management, the discipline, and all those other rules that are in place for being a proper seasoned player that wins a lot more than they lose. So for me, I had to take a break because I didn't like doing all these live videos and videos of strategies when I wasn't winning at the casino. I don't know
Yep.
if you've ever experienced that, Chris.
No, I definitely have, and I just looked. I had 436 videos. I just looked at my
Wow.
page.
1,000
Um,
videos between us. Check them out.
yeah, right. Link down below. You know, shameless plug. But no, like you said, right, with the like, you definitely get video fatigue. But then I think you can relate that even to like the casino, right? I think some people just get burnt out going to a casino, and like I know a lot of us who play regularly may, you know, get that feeling, especially when you're on a bad streak and you're losing in multiple sessions. You know, you start to really evaluate, like, okay, like, what am I doing that's causing me to lose? Is it, you know, because when I personally, when I lose, right, I'm always looking at myself. What did I do? Right. Especially at
Exactly.
craps, did I lose because I was betting on myself too heavy? I was throwing. Ultimately, I'm controlling the bets, right? So yes, other people may be throwing dice, but I'm the one who's actually controlling the money that is placed on the table. So for me, when I'm losing, I have like a self-reflection. And I know some people get mad at like the casino or whoever they're playing with. You'll see, like, especially on the craps table, you'll see people get mad at, you know, people who have short rolls, things like that. But for me, I never get mad at those people because I'm the one who chose to put money down on the table, right?
Right.
It was me putting money down. They didn't force me to put my money down. So like I get fatigued in that sense where I'm constantly analyzing the point of what went well, what didn't go well. But I
Right.
can definitely relate that to, you know, putting out YouTube content and things like that because it does become a lot, right? A lot of requests come in, a lot of different things. So I will say though that I do love putting out videos. I find it really enjoyable and it's definitely helped me grow as a craps player, as a gambler in general, and just as a knowledgeable person in a casino. And that was actually one question I wanted to ask you is like, with your progression of starting a channel to now, like, how has putting videos out and being a quote unquote content creator, you know, evolved your game to be either better, worse? Would you say that you're, I mean, I'm not going to, well, obviously we know you're more confident now, right? But like,
Sure.
how has it evolved your game and like what have you taken from, you know, maybe your channel alone, but then also all the other channels that are putting out content, not even craps related. I mean, there's channels on every casino game possible. So like, what have you taken from that that you've kind of sprinkled into your actual live craps or casino play?
Well, I'll tell you, before I even started the channel, that period between coming home from Vegas in February and starting the channel in July, that was strictly watching YouTube for hours every single day, learning all I can. But then once starting the channel, the channel started slowly with knowing what I know. I know movies, I relate them to bets, but then over time, and this is, it evolved from going from recorded videos to live videos. And what I love about the transition is that live videos really got me into, you're a dealer. You're a dealer for the live video because you're dealing to the masses who are playing on another platform, but they're playing with your live rolls. So not only, I'm not just standing there throwing dice and recording the rolls. I'm playing along with my own bankroll. So, you know, it teaches you to have to think beyond just rolling for the other players. You have to think about strategy. You have to think about your bankroll. You have to think about your buy-in, where you want to move bets, how you want to play while you're doing this all live. So it really teaches you how to be a dealer, a stick person, your own pit boss, which most of the time your own self tells you, we can blow it. We'll just do another buy-in. Well, you can't do that all the time at the casino, and that's where I got a little bit fatigued that what I was doing there, here with the constant buy-ins on live shows was really unhealthy on relating it to going to the casino because a lot of times it would take you a long time to build a bankroll to even consider going in and doing a buy-in at a live casino. And then, Chris, tons of times I've gone to a casino and I've been there for a half hour to 45 minutes and I've blown $300 to $500. Easy. I mean, it's happened more times than I'd like to admit. It's when you do win, it's exciting. Even if you break even, it's exciting. Later on in the podcast, we'll get to some of the Atlantic City stories, especially the one where we came into contact with a Golden Touch member. Um, you know, but the evolution of the channel from recorded videos, learning videos, to strategy videos, to trying to combat other YouTube channels for what you're doing and what they're doing, and then getting into the live shows. That transition I thought was a healthy transition, and it happened over what, a 2-3 year period. But then everybody's doing some of the same stuff, and then some people are doing things that you and I both agree is total shit. And it really gives people like us who do proper videos with proper etiquette and mannerisms, and we're doing it for the education part of it. We're trying to be entertaining too, but we're also doing it for the educational purposes of a recreational gambler. And people are just shitting on what we love about the game. So that also has to do with the fatigue factor.
Yep. That's definitely understandable. So, like, let's fast forward to present day, right? So, obviously, we both started playing roulette, evolved a little bit into craps. I always had blackjack going in the background. I know you are playing blackjack a lot now. So, like, present day today, Mr. Craig today, when you go to a casino, what would be your, like, top, I guess, top game of choice when you go into play, or top two, right? So, like, I know you don't play a lot of roulette anymore. I don't play a lot of roulette. I feel like we're gonna have the same answer here with what games we go to play. But like, present day Craig goes to a casino. What pit is he looking to go to?
I will first say present day Craig, even past Craig, will never go and sit down in front of a slot machine. I have horse slots, and I know that there's a lot of people who play slots and slot strategies, and good for you. You just won't see old Bay Craps sitting anywhere near a slot machine unless it's free play that I have to do in order to just blow that money to make more money to go to what I really want to go to, which is a craps table. But right now, it's blackjack. Like you mentioned, I've been transitioning a little bit to blackjack. I kind of stopped the channel and doing any lives at all. In early April, I went to an Atlantic City trip, and just a quick brief, because we will get to Atlantic City, some stories, but this one I'm going to tell in brief just because it has to do with the transition of me as a casino player. So I went to Atlantic City. It was a 3-day trip. Got there on Wednesday, bought in, hit the ATS on day one. I was doubled the bankroll, was up 1,200 profit. And then the anxiety came in, and I was like, there are people coming over the next 2 days, and what am I going to do to survive so that I can still talk to them and meet with them and still be able to play? I'm telling you, the first person here to tell you that is not the way you want to think about things or think about a trip. Um, Anybody who's anybody, if you're part of a crew, and we'll get into crews later, if you're part of a crew, nobody in the crew cares if you win on day one and say, bye, see ya, gotta go. I did what I came here to do, which is what? We all come here to win. We want to win money. That's why we're here. There may be some people that have enough money that they just like to blow money because they just like to talk. I'm not there to talk. I'm there to socialize, yeah, but really we're all there to make money. And if you make the money and you did it, go home. Did I go home? No, I kept playing and I went home on Friday after $1,000 bankroll, winning 1,200 after hitting the ATS and some other things, was up 2,200. I went home Friday with zero. Zero. Talk about going home with your tail between your legs. Now I will say the caveat is if you lose money you can afford to lose, you don't feel any emotion. You're just disappointed that you played poorly. But you're not angry. You're not angry, you're just disappointed. When it's money you can't afford to lose, when I know a lot of people that probably play that way and you shouldn't, but I understand because I've been in your position. But when you play with money you can't afford to lose, you get angry when you lose. And it's not fun when you go home. But when you go home with money you can afford to lose, or you don't go home with money, you don't have that feeling. And it was the first time I ever really took money to the casino, came home with nothing, and was not angry. I was just disappointed at how I didn't walk away. So when I came home, I was like, okay, I need something to help me start building bankrolls for craps. And I was like, I think I'm going to turn to, let's see what Blackjack has to offer, because I didn't know much about Blackjack. Obviously, you knew he had to get to 21 and beat the dealer and blah, blah, blah. Very, very novice, very, very stupid, very not in the know. But came home, I was like, all right, I'm going to look up Blackjack. And I did the same thing I did with craps when I started craps, when I came home from that first Vegas trip. I started watching every video I could about Blackjack, started learning about Blackjack. I've stopped doing my channel, but have done heavy, heavy practice daily with both craps and blackjack. And recently came home just last week from the 4th of July weekend trip to Atlantic City. Played 8 sessions of blackjack, won 7 of them. Played 4 sessions of craps. So I think, Chris,
Epics.
we can deduce that maybe I found my game, and maybe
I
it's not
think you did.
craps. And maybe that may keep me from doing further videos, although with the new setup in the basement that you've seen, I might get back to doing some videos or some lives. But I may also be doing some blackjack videos. We'll see.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's funny, you touch on a lot of topics there, and we're gonna have full episodes on meetups because that's very, very interesting topic. I think we can both share a lot of interesting stories on that and have
Definitely.
some really good guests on for that as well. And then even like the one point that I really want to drive home is like knowing when to walk away. I mean, we could run multiple episodes on knowing when to walk away. And I think that's a problem a lot of people do have when they're gambling in general, is just knowing when to walk away. But then I think a fun topic that we'll talk about, because we already talked about it a little bit, is setups at home, right? So like we can tell you a little bit about what we have. You can't see mine behind me right now, but there's a craps table back there, a 12-footer. Craig's got his own. He's got a blackjack table. I have some other stuff in the house. So we'll talk all about setups. But I think we gave him, good little representation into who we are, a little bit about our background story. So Craig, now that we've shifted into kind of what what games we like, right? We're both craps and blackjack players. You probably lean a little bit more blackjack now. When I'm by myself, I lean blackjack more just because it's a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. It depends who's at the craps table. I'll go look at the craps table first, but then I usually end up over at blackjack. But I switch between the two. It depends. But when you go into a casino, right? What are you looking for when you go into a casino? You said you're from Maryland, so you play a lot in the Maryland area. Obviously, Atlantic City's not far from you. Same thing with me in the Philadelphia area. There's quite a few casinos, and Atlantic City's also not that far from me. But when you walk into a casino, right, like, what are you looking for? So for me personally, I'm looking for what the table minimums are. Now, I may not be playing at the lowest level table. I used to be always looking for the lowest level table, and that's where I would sit. That's not what I'm looking for anymore. I'm looking for what table can I attack from a figurative standpoint, right? But that's what I'm looking for. Table minimums do factor in a little bit. So, for example, if I'm looking at craps table, I'm looking at what the table looks like, who's at the table, do I know anyone on the crew at the table? If it's a new casino, what kind of bonus bets do they have? Not that I always play the bonus bets, but I'm interested in, what they have, what the payouts are. For blackjack, I'm looking for only real shoes. I don't want continuous shufflers. Unfortunately, with a blackjack, you play a lot of auto shufflers, which I don't love. I don't hate them either, but I hate continuous shufflers. I'm looking for 3-2 blackjack, 6-5 can go kiss my ass, things like that. So what are you looking for when you go to the casino?
So obviously, low table minimums is a real plus. However, you learn over time that even if table minimums are low, one tends to play the table at whatever comfortable minimum bet their bankroll will allow. You have to go by your bankroll. If you have a $300 bankroll, you have no business playing $100 bets. There people that do that? Sure. There are plenty of people who go in with 300, or let's hope to God they're not going in with their paycheck, but they're going in with a low bankroll. They really should be, servicing out their bankroll, maybe doing some bankroll management in the rail if they're going to be playing craps. If they're going to be playing blackjack, I'm looking for 3-2. I'm looking for stop on hard soft 17 if I could find it. That's kind of harder to find now. They really make it hard. They even have ones that are, your only table you may find is a 3-2, but they hit on 17, which kind of sucks. Definitely agree with you about continuous shufflers. If there is only one table available with a continuous shuffler, best advice is go with perfect basic strategy. That's all you can do. You can't really count cards with a continuous shuffler. 65, yeah, it can go to hell. That's just an abomination to be putting on the layout. But then I also like certain layouts when it comes to craps, more than others. I do like the ATS versus a fire bet table. But again, however, if I get better results on one table versus another, maybe with my throw, you know, or just the vibe of the table, I'll go with what's available at any given time, or, if there's a given position that I'm comfortable from throwing from. Because when I go to the casino, I want to play craps, I do go with the intention that I want to throw. I practice my throw daily. I practice betting with my throw daily. I want to know what's comfortable, what numbers am I hitting? And if I'm throwing at a table and I'm seeing the dice giving me different numbers, then clearly I need to do some changes with the dice set or something. But I don't go to the casino. I don't like to just stand there and play with other people shooting, leaving them up to making a decision on my money, even though it is, like you said earlier, it's my fault if I'm walking away with nothing, because you have to read the table. But when it comes to just, what are you looking for when you go in? I'm looking for a good table with a good vibe and good dealers. Yeah, will I play with shitty dealers that kind of talk back to you? You and I will talk about a little bit more about that when we talk about Atlantic City. There are definitely a few that will chime in when they don't need to, and they would
We'll
serve the
name them
better.
by name, by the way.
Yeah, they would serve the better good of the people if they would just shut the fuck up. But
They'd serve the better good if they just quit their job, but that's beside the point.
well, clearly you're unhappy. I work in customer service, so it would behoove me if I just, if they're talking and just jibber jabbering, I'm like, it sounds like you don't like your job. Maybe you want to think about moving on. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a good time. Looking for good game availability. But discipline has to be part of it. Meaning, when you walk into a casino and you don't see the parameters that you like, are you staying? I know that you'll stay because there's sports betting, which I don't
It's
do.
always sports betting.
Which I don't do, and we will get into. But if you don't see the conditions for blackjack or craps, are you sticking around?
No, honestly, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, this has a lot to do with, casino availability. Like in a Atlantic City or in a Vegas, you have a lot of options. Whereas, if you're playing at more of a local location, or, maybe there's not casinos close by, it can be tough. But like in Atlantic City, Vegas, I'll easily go to a different casino, not even think twice. If I'm playing at a spot where, I had to travel to, and like I don't have another option close by, as you alluded to, I'm going to go sit in the sports book, hang out there for a little bit, see if things change. If not, I'll leave. I think that's one thing that I've kind of matured with over time, is that like I don't have to play all the time. I'm not forcing myself into situations that I don't necessarily like, which in the beginning I definitely had that problem, was like I would play whatever, wherever, didn't care. And
Yeah.
now I'm a lot more selective. But again, that's maturing over time, learning the game, learning vibes at the table, and not even just vibes, just learning about, who's there, what the environment is like. Because, I think you and I both, right? We like happy vibes, right? I don't like to walk into like a dungeon and be like, oh, this is sad, this is depressing. It just sets you up for failure, right? And that's not what I want. So yeah, I mean, if I'm somewhere where I can move around, I'll move around. But if not, I'll either wait or I'll just leave and chalk it up, and, know that I walked out of the casino not losing. Obviously, I didn't play anything, but like I didn't lose. So technically speaking, it's a win. Breaking even is always a win in a casino. I know people are, you broke even. That doesn't count. Well, yeah, you walk into a casino, every bet you're disadvantaged. So walking out even is technically a win. So take the win.
Do you have a stop loss?
Stop loss. No, I don't have a stop loss. And I don't have a problem with people who do have a stop loss. My thing is, right, and you talked about this earlier, with betting more than you can afford to lose. You should be playing with money that doesn't affect you, right? So, like, when I'm
Absolutely.
playing, that money does not, if I lose it, it sucks, sure. But does it mean I can't pay rent, or I can't pay my light bill, or I can't pay my water bill? No.
Right.
Right? It's money that like I can afford to lose. So I don't play with a stop loss though, but I'm also very disciplined in my bankroll itself. So I only take a certain amount of money to the casino. That's what I play with. And once I lose it, if I do lose it, I'm gone. Now, there are times where I will stop before I lose it all, just because I don't like what's going on at the table, or I'm not comfortable with what's going on. It doesn't mean I have a stop loss. It's just I'm not enjoying the situation I'm in. I don't like what's going on, so I will leave.
Right.
That's again a discipline thing. But like with my bankroll, I only take a very, very small percentage of my overall gambling bankroll to go to the casino with to play. Right? I'm not gonna, have let's say a $500 bankroll. I take all $500. No, if I'm taking 500, there's probably a couple zeros that are remaining in the in the bankroll. So I don't play with a stop loss. I will leave if I don't like something, but I don't necessarily play with a stop loss. What about you? Do you play with a
Do
stop
you
loss?
believe that not having a stop loss has maybe a lot to do with you're not bringing everything from you're bringing a buy-in. You're not really bringing a bankroll. Now you may be bringing a bankroll for a trip, but
Yeah.
you may have an account that has, a certain purse in it that you're pulling from for your buy-ins for your local when you're going locally, which you're only going
Yeah.
for like one session, maybe in a whole night or a day. So you don't have a stop loss because of that, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably it. And like the term stop loss, I feel like it depends how you view it. So to me, like when people set a stop loss, right? A lot of people look at it from the lens of like, all right, let's say I buy it for $1,000, $500 is my stop loss. To me, that puts a false sense of confidence in yourself that like you only lost $500. Well, why'd you buy in for 1,000 in the first place? Right? Like I always combat that stop loss thing with, okay, if you're going to buy in for 1,000 and you're going to stop when you lose 500, what's the difference between me losing or me buying in for 500 and losing 500? There's really no difference there. We both lost the same amount of money. Just you are going to the cage to cash out for 500 when I'm not going to the cage at all. But like to me personally, the whole like, oh well, I only lost 500. Well, you still lost 500, right? Like to me, we both lost 500. You stopped. I stopped when I didn't have any money, but like it doesn't necessarily affect me in that way because I know I brought, let's say, $500, and that's what it is. That's what I brought. And one other side note with the whole stop loss bankroll thing. One thing I am a firm believer in, and I do not do it anymore. I did do it in the past. I don't do it anymore. I never, ever, ever bring a debit card to the casino anymore. Never, ever, ever. The cash that I bring, that's the cash that I play with. Yes, you can set up markers and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that stuff. But like from a quick, easy pull of the ATM, you'll never see me do it at a casino because I don't have my debit card on me to do it.
You know, that's probably the first rule you have to learn when you're first starting out is you do not go to the ATM if you lose your buy-in. You don't do it. Have I done it in the past? Yes. Have I done it more than once? Yes. But it was 2 years ago was probably the last time that it happened because you have to learn to bring only what you can afford to bring and be okay losing it all. Now,
Yep.
would I love a stop loss? I probably would like a stop loss, but I don't know if I could ever instill that into the discipline. I probably could. It's going to take a while to, you know, to do, what do they say? It takes 21 days to learn a new habit,
Yeah.
in order to
Yep.
do that. But, you know, I've been down from an $800 bankroll before down to like, and I told this story on an interview with John Procraps that I was at the Mirage playing the same table. This was a year or so later, um, and I was down to 226, and it was just me and another girl at the other end with her boyfriend, and we all know what happens with some random people. They walk up to the table and they throw fire, and she threw fire. She brought me back to 826, and I went home with $26 of profit. I felt elated. When you're down that far and you bring yourself back. So for all the people who think that breaking even is not the real deal or doesn't make you a great craps player, go fuck yourself because it definitely makes you a really good comeback player, you know, and that's part of the game. Part of the game is knowing when you're down if you can bring yourself back. If you want to stop, if you want to take an $800 bankroll like I did and stop at $200 and go home, great. But that feeling of losing $600 is going to stick with you. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
But to bring yourself back and to bring yourself back a little bit over even made it an awesome trip. And it takes, you know, it takes a change in your, when we say strategy, we're not talking about a strategy you're playing with where you put your bets. We're talking about a mindset strategy change of what are you now going to do? What are you now going to do now that you're down? How are you going to change your overall betting to help yourself? Are you going to go smaller with your bets and just grind it out? Are you going to take a chance? You know, and those are things that Chris and I will talk about in some other episodes too. We'll probably have a top 5 comeback sessions as another
Oh yeah.
top 5. We keep thinking of top 5s as we keep going along here.
We like the top 5 list though. The top 5s are fun. They're, a little bit you get to know us on a little bit of a different outside of gambling. Well, sometimes it's gambling related. Sometimes it's not. It's not gambling related. Today's just personal drink choice. But yeah, we'll add those. We'll add a lot of different things. We'll get into what we're going to be talking about. Do we want to get into our top 5 list?
You know, I just want to say beforehand, if I did a top 5 movie list, I think they might be the only 5 movies that Chris can remember seeing in a theater.
That's I gotta write that down. That's our next one. Top 5 movies, because then I'll know which one the hell you're talking about.
I mean,
I don't even
I've
know if I
seen
can name
5
5
movies in
movies.
just the last week, but Chris has probably only seen 5 movies ever since I've met him.
You want to know what the last movie I saw in the movie theater was?
Oh my God. Don't say Titanic.
It wasn't Titanic. You're gonna laugh. The new Lilo and Stitch.
Oh my God. Was it with a,
That's the last.
was it with fiance DJen or was it
Of
with
course.
nieces and nephews?
No, fiance DJ, man. If it was anybody else, I wouldn't have went.
I don't know. Last movie I saw was just this, Was it Thursday or Wednesday? I saw Superman on Sunday.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, we'll talk about top five movies, but how about we talk about our top five list for today, shall we?
All right. I want to preface this by just saying, out of the two of us, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to guess that Chris is probably the drinker more than I am. Even one of these
Alcoholic?
things on this list, the top one on this list is only if I've had a winning session. Does that
There you
count?
go. So yeah, no, I like it. If you haven't guessed, we're doing our top five favorite liquors or drinks. So we're gonna go five down to one, and we'll kick it off. Craig, you go five, or you go number five, I'll go number five, and we'll kick it back and forth. So Craig, in your number five spot of your top favorite liquor, what is it?
All right. My number five spot, we're going back to college, which for me was between 1995 and 1998, and that's going to be Bacardi rum. You can't have a college party without Bacardi rum.
There you
Um,
go.
it's you need that sweetness, you need that what's going to get me liquored up quick because I'm in college and I have to deal with real world problems. So that's my number five.
That would
You?
be Fiance DJ's number one through five would be Bacardi. Now, for me, my number five is so you're going to learn throughout this podcast. I'll probably be drinking during some of them. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a problem. I actually don't drink that much, believe it or not. But we'll have some bevies on the pod. But big whiskey and bourbon guys. So my number five is an Elijah Craig 12 year.
I have nothing to do with that drink, but that sounds lovely.
That's why I had to pick it because it was your namesake. So I had to pick it.
Yep,
Number
yep.
four, Craig. What's number four in your list?
My number four is Smirnoff Vanilla Vodka with number 21. Um, I took this on I used to have a different neighbor than I have now, back in like 2006 to like 2013. And he took me, once or twice a year camping with a bunch of his friends into Western Maryland. I think it was Frederick, Maryland, possibly. And there's a bunch of mountainous area back then, but the people that ran it had their own area with a big campfire. One of their friends was a professional chef, so he did all the cooking for the week. I just had to give up the money for the propane for the tent, so we were warm at night. And then they made a makeshift shower. But definitely took the Smirnoff vodka, vanilla vodka, because they would make these like orange crushes, I
Oh yeah.
think, in solo cups, and they would use that. And so I wanted to bring my own for the second trip that I went on, and that will get you. You'll be drunk quicker than you think.
Oh yeah. I guess we had a theme here. We didn't talk about this by the way, for
Yeah,
anyone who's wondering. My number four will get you very drunk very quick. It will get you frisky and freaky because they say tequila makes the clothes come off. So number four is a tequila for me. It is the Arte Nome Seleccion Blanco is my number four. But
does that
yeah,
have
if
the
I'm trying to
worm?
get
Does that have
no
the
worm in it,
worm?
no worm in it. But if I'm trying to get a little toasty, a little quick, tequila is definitely the choice. If I'm doing shots, it's usually tequila. College has ruined a lot of popular shots for me. I can't do them anymore. I can't even smell them, make me nauseous. But um, tequila would be my shot choice. So we're gonna go with the Arte Gnome Selección, and pardon my Espanol because I'm not Spanish. So if I pronounce that wrong, I don't know. Leave it in the comments. I don't care. All right, number three.
I should have
What is
brought a
number
bottle of
three?
each just to show everybody.
I could run to the
I
liquor cabinet because I have all these sitting
right.
in it.
So my number three is based off of I'm a movie guy. I had to have something from some movies. So from one of my favorite summer movies, Jaws, which just celebrated its 50th anniversary. In the movie, Quint, who's the kind of like the Moby Dick Ahab character, he drinks brandy. So Hiram Walker apricot brandy. It's apricot brandy that he loves to drink and that he requests from the chief to be brought onto the boat when they go out to find the shark. So apricot brandy, I've only had it once, but I would buy that again. It was very good brandy.
There you go. I will say I have seen the movie Jaws is actually one of my favorites. But
It's going to
number
be in his
three
top
for me,
five.
Yeah, no top five because I can name five movies off the top of my head. I think, and Lilo and Stitch being one of them. Um, kidding. Um, My number three is it's not a liquor, it's a drink, but it has liquor in it, of course. My number three is a transfusion. Love me a transfusion. Big golfer, so on the golf course, my drink of choice is a transfusion. Also on boats and beaches and everything else. Usually drinking a transfusion. For those of you who don't know what a transfusion is, it is vodka based, grape juice, a little bit of lime, and some Sprite. So transfusion is number three for me.
Sounds
Love that
fancy.
drink, man. It's actually not. It's like I don't know. I think people have made it fancy now, but like before, this wasn't fancy at all. Like you'd go up to somebody and be like, "I got a transfusion." They're like, "What the hell is wrong with you?
What?
Who
You
likes
just have
grape
a
juice?"
blood transfusion?
Yeah, literally. But no, love me a good transfusion. That's number three. Number two, Craig. What's number two?
All right, number two is going to be a familiar one if you know my channel, if you're familiar with other talk shows that you've seen before in the craps community, and that's the Jim Beam Peach. The Jim Beam Peach, the 65 proof Jim Beam Peach, I've had on many a show. You've seen it in a glass, you've seen me drink it. And if you're any fan of a craft player who we lost not too long ago, Mid Yo, he has on his channel still a live video where I played on his channel against him, I believe, where I may have had too much Jim Beam. And by the end of the episode, I may have had a hard time making my bets. Yeah, so that was an interesting night.
Oh
But
yeah,
Jim
for
Beam
sure.
Peach, you'll see if you see me and you even come to my house, I always have Jim Beam Peach on standby.
There you go. And quick question off this: when you play at the tables, do you drink?
I do, I do. When I first went to the casinos, I started drinking whiskey sours. I wanted something easy, something that I could finish that wasn't really going to be filled up because it's going to be a lot of ice. I didn't come to the casino to get drunk. I just came to the casino to take the edge off a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Now it's a White Russian, and you can thank the person that got me into drinking the White Russian at Atlantic City is the same person who is the reason why I chose the number one liquor.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Quickly, I do not drink at the tables. I used to. I don't anymore. I have not had a sip of alcohol at a craps table or a blackjack table or anything in probably 3 years. I drink after. I don't drink before or during. So if you see me ever drinking anything at a craps table, I can assure you it's coffee, water, or a Diet Coke. That's it. My number two is from the same individual, and it is Scotch. Got me into Scotch, and I guess I want to thank him, but I also want to not thank him for making me go down the rabbit hole of Scotch. But it is a Balvenie 12. Great Scotch. You'll see me drinking that. Sometimes you may see me drinking it on the pod, but yeah, he got me into it. So he knows that he's Grandpa. So Grandpa, thank you for getting me into Scotch, and also screw you for getting me into Scotch.
Oh
All
yeah.
right,
I
Craig, what is number one?
He's the one that got me into the White Russians at the craps table, and he was the first person I reached out to when I said, you guys talk about this stuff all the time, and there was like a whiskey chat room somewhere where they were talking about different kinds of liqueurs. So my number one happens to be a little bit of the same of Chris's number two, which is the Belvini 12-year double wood Scotch single malt. Now, I've bought this before, and I come to find out that I'm not the only one that likes it in the household. My wife also liked the taste of it, and we would add it to whatever. I know that there's some purists out there who drink it straight up, and I have drank it straight, but it is very good with. This may not be kosher, but I mean it's very good with green tea. Can I say that
It's
on
a
air?
sin in my book, but you do
It's
you.
great with green tea or an Arnold Palmer. Um, but by itself, it is still very, very good. And it's the reason I don't buy it much is because, like I said, I need to have a winning session because that is $100 bottle of scotch. So
If I have
yeah,
to mix my scotch, there's a problem. in my opinion, but that's just me. But no, that's good choice. Yeah, 1 and 2. Your one, my two are aligned. My number one, this is probably gonna ruffle some feathers. I don't really care. It's the Four Roses small batch. Um, I love Four Roses. People are, oh, that's cheap, that's garbage. No, it's not. And the small batch is phenomenal. Yes, it's relatively cheap compared to a lot of other small batches, but the finish on it is amazing. It is so smooth. I love it. So Four Roses small batch is numero uno in my book.
So let me ask you, what's your honorable mention? What didn't make the cut?
Ooh,
That may not
that's a
be a
good
liquor.
question. Yeah, all right. So my honorable mention is going to be my go-to beverage when I go out when I order a drink, which is an old fashioned, which is made with bourbon or whiskey. So it's kind of a cop out, I guess. But yeah, my honorable mention would definitely be just an old fashioned in general. Um, Not super picky on them. Am I like a lot of them, but depends how the bartender makes it, I guess. I used to be a bartender, so I can critique bartenders and how they prepare drinks. But yeah, old fashioned would be my honorable mention.
If it's liquor, then it's gonna for me it's gonna be a Maker's with ginger ale.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but as honorable mention, non-liquor, I have to go with a Pinot Noir red wine, and I only have that when I'm eating steak, and I'm only eating steak if I've had a winning session.
There you
A
go.
winning session will always garner a steak as a prize for having a winning session. Now, interestingly enough, the last trip I just described about on 4th of July weekend where I played blackjack. Now, my wife and my daughter who were with me that weekend and her friend all went home Sunday night. I had to stay there Monday so I could get my rewards points. So when I stayed, I had steak for breakfast because I had 7 of 8 winning sessions at blackjack.
There you
So
go. Little
I
steak and
enjoyed that.
eggs.
What's that?
Little steak and eggs.
Absolutely.
There you go. I like it. And the former bartender, wine sommelier in me enjoys your pairing of red wine with red meat. It's a sin if you pair any
Absolutely.
other wine with red meat. Stop it, please. It makes me cringe. I actually went out to dinner the other night. Side note, went to dinner the other night and it was steakhouse and people were ordering white wine with their steak and I was cringing across the table. I was like,
It hurts, doesn't
what are
it?
you
It
doing?
hurts from even across the room.
Yeah, no, it's painful to see. I don't care if you just love your white wine, drink that first. Do not order that to come out with your steak. I mean, learn some damn manners, learn some etiquette, all right? Red wine goes with steak. White wine does not go with steak. Okay, white wine can go with your chickens, your fish, all the other stuff. If you're ordering a steak, it's got to be red wine. And if it's not red wine, order something else. Do not order white wine.
You've heard it here from the Dice DJ at the kitchen
Yeah.
corner of Craps.
There you go. Yeah, tips from DJ's kitchen. All right. We went over a little bit about us. We went over our top five list, and we will have many top fives throughout the episodes and whatnot. We won't have them every time, but we'll sprinkle them in every once in a while. We'll do some fun ones with guests, hopefully as well. But Craig, you want to give us a little snapshot into what the viewers can expect going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So, what are we about? We've told you a little bit about our backgrounds. We've told you a little about how we got into the casino gaming. We're still not done telling you everything we know about the games and our experiences. That's what you're here for. So, what's upcoming? What's to expect from this podcast? Expect the unexpected. We may tangent. We may veer off the path, but we'll always circle back around to craps and probably blackjack and the casino game, the table games at least, that we love playing, minus sports betting, which Chris is very prevalent in. And we're going to get into the sports betting and why he does it and why he's so good at it and his method of doing it. I've tried it. It's not for me, but I think blackjack is for me. So that's what I'll keep to. What else can you find with this podcast? We're going to be including a casino tip at the end of every episode. Whether we do one at the end of this episode, we will find out shortly. We also plan to have guests. We do not have a guest for this one. We wanted to get you all to know us first, and then we will then move on to guests. We're not going to have the same kind of guests you've seen in other shows who mainly the guests have been seasoned pros, we want to have on some of the recreational gamblers, some of the weekend warriors, some people from craps crews. We want to have like the everyday player and kind of get their perspective on how did they get started? What do they like to play when they go to the casino? You know, what kind of betting do they do typically? Do they like to throw? Do they like the sizzle at the table if it's a good vibe? How do they like to go about their gambling to get that feed that they need to be alive and live in the casino world, you know, with their experiences. So we're gonna do that. We may talk to a seasoned pro or two just to divvy things up, but we would really like to know how people like Chris and I, who are not seasoned pros, we are recreational gamblers, how they do it and how, you know, we'll get more into how we do it. But anything you want to add to that, Chris?
No, no, you hit the nail on the head. The only thing I will add that is if you are interested in feedback or you want to hear certain things or whatever, you can reach us. Again, said at the beginning, they're all linked down at the bottom. Uh, Probably check the most is the email. So fullofchipspodcast@gmail.com. Obviously, comments on YouTube, comments on Spotify, Apple, all that kind of stuff. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you can reach out to us on there. We will both be monitoring all those accounts and stuff. So if you have questions that you want to answer, because we will do whole podcasts, just Q&A sessions that, you know, we'll ask for questions from, you know, the audience, and you can, you know, put in your questions. We'll answer them. We may not answer all of them. We'll see. But if you have specific questions and that you ask them, do not think that I ignored your question. We're just going to save it till we have quite a few, and we'll just do a whole episode on a Q&A. But yeah, if you want to find us, again, all the links can be found in the description down below. Check us out on there. On the Instagrams and the TikToks and stuff, you'll see more shorts and clips of full episodes. Obviously, you won't see the full episode. If you want a full episode, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you like to grab your podcast from. But as Craig said, definitely expect the unexpected. Yes, that is a TV show reference. That is one thing DGen is good at, is TV shows. So I caught that one and I got it. All right. Shout out Big
Okay.
Brother.
We may have to
I'm
do
not a
top five
total
TV shows.
We might. I'm not a total idiot when it comes to things that are on TV that don't revolve around sports. Yeah, no, guys, hope you guys enjoyed episode 1. We have our tip. I think our tip for today, and I think we went over it already, but we're going to emphasize it again because I think the tip for today, and you're going to hear it a lot on this podcast, you're going to hear it a lot on a lot of different shows, is not to bet with money that you can't afford to lose. So if that money affects you directly, if you needed to pay your mortgage, your car payment, grocery bill, anything that you are
Your mistress.
required to pay for to live, that's not money that you can go gamble with. All right. I'm not a financial advisor, not trying to give you financial advice. However, if you don't have money to burn, or if you're going to get angry when you lose it, and I'm not talking about just, oh, I lost the money, I'm upset. Like, if it directly impacts you, you should not be going to the casino. And I'm not saying this to be like your mom or your dad, because I really don't want to be daddy to you. All right. But just telling you, as somebody who has been doing this, who did it, who when I was young, and like, you know, maybe I did go out there with money that I probably shouldn't have. And don't do it. All right. It's not worth it.
So where can they find the podcast?
They can find the podcast on YouTube, Full of Chips Podcast YouTube channel, where they are watching now. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, we would appreciate it. If you like the content, definitely do so. If you don't like it and you want to leave us a negative review, their comments are there. You can go tell us. Will I read it? Yes. Will I respond to you? I don't know. If I'm feeling snarky, maybe, but I'll appreciate the feedback anyway. But on Apple and on Spotify, Full of Chips Podcast, and on all major platforms where you want to find your pods, Full of Chips Podcast.
So join us for Full of Chips podcast.